final time in 2021. It's a Chatham Anglers broadcast from Veterans Field. A rainy day, and Game 39, the final game of the Cape League season, canceled tonight for Chatham. The Anglers will not beat Harwich, but they finished on a high note with a win last night over Brewster. Alongside Ben Shulman, Emmanuel Berbari with you from the Veterans Field press box. Ben, in a season of unpredictability where you really didn't know what was next, there were a lot of rule changes in the Cape League. Kind of a fitting end to the A's season where they get a rain out. They do not get to play the final game. They didn't know last night would be the final game and the final send-off for their fans, but they certainly treated it as such.
It felt like the final game with the forecast showing rain, not just coming now, but for the next day and a half, Cape Cod is going to get soaked. So there were pregame ceremonies, the team awards took place, honored the host families. Ed Baird became the first Chatham A's player to ever have his number retired, and the fans came out in big numbers, nearly 3,000 people on hand, because they had a feeling, and we did too, that that would be the last time the A's played a game this year, and boy did they play well in their final 2021 send-off.
Thanks for stopping by wherever you are. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TRZ Team Line, the various Chatham Anglers platforms. We're coming to you from Chatham today, and it felt like a game of magnitude. There were more lawn chairs in right center field than ever before this season. The fans were into it. They were engaged. It was a first-place Brewster team that already locked up the East Division. They're going to compete for their first Cape League title since 2017. But Chatham brought it offensively from front to back, and they really stymied Brewster.
They scored 11 runs, and most of the time you score 11 runs, you're going to win baseball games, even if you've had some struggles like the Chatham A's did. We kind of saw everything that they had. There were some good plays defensively from the middle infield guys. Lyle Miller-Green, the team's leading slugger, hit a home run after getting the Chatham Silver Slugger Award, and the A's strung together enough pitching to pick up the victory. Tons of entertainment, 17 runs combined for the fans in the final send-off.
Two bombs last night by Chatham A's. You mentioned Lyle Miller-Green. His into the left center field trees, and about halfway up those trees, Danny Soretti from the left side, a switch hitter, hit one to left center field that still may not have landed. He had an absolute moonshot. So the Anglers picked up right where they left off, and they finished the season winning 6 of their last 8 games. Had it been a normal Cape League year, they would be one of the 4 playoff teams in the East.
And we'll hear it a little bit later here on the Season in Review broadcast. Tom Holliday thinks that this team might have had a chance to go streaking. You never know. It's the big what if with the playoffs shrinking this season. But Chatham absolutely played its best baseball down the stretch. Really had an entirely different team in the second half. And these guys in the final 20 or so games that bonded together well, went on a run for Chatham, I think that's the Chatham A's of 2021 that are going to stick in the memories of a lot of the local fans.
Chatham didn't get the opportunity tonight to beat every Cape League team. That's something they could have done alongside Bourne. They go 0-5 against Harwich, a decent 2-4 against YD. The impressive part, against first-place Brewster, they win all 3 games at Veterans Field and end up splitting with the Whitecaps. And then against rival Orleans this past week, swept them in 3 games and 4 of 5 total on the season. The Anglers' final record didn't look as pretty as they would have hoped, but there were certainly season highlights to review.
Absolutely. I mean, there was a grand slam this year. Recently at Orleans, Garrett Martin pulled back a home run that looked like it was already way out of the park. Chatham had some great pitching performances. You think back to Daniel Fetterman, Garrett Crowley, and Victor Medeiros' one-hitter against Hyannis early in the year. The A's had a ton of big moments, especially with some of the new guys that were brought in too. I mean, Matt Hogan, the right fielder from Vanderbilt, seemingly made a highlight reel catch once every 2 games.
It was really those mid-season additions, as the Anglers roster had so much turnover. That turned the page for the Anglers season. Danny Soretti from UNC, Matt Hogan, Max Romero, the Vanderbilt catcher, who boasted a lot of power and really stabilized that Anglers order. Caden Tranquil from Oklahoma State wasn't here on day 1, but he ended up being a mainstay in that Anglers lineup. There were the day 1 guys like Josh Rivera and Matt Garcia in the lineup, and Lyle Miller-Green, who ended up being the team leader in home runs and Silver Slugger winner. But that final mix felt like the perfect mix that Tom Holliday ultimately wanted.
you could see the team was just more of a team with those guys. There was no distractions. There was no, is this guy leaving for the draft? Is this guy going to Team USA? Everyone had left for the draft. Everyone had gone to Team USA. And this group of about 25 guys knew that they were going to have to stick it out together through the ups and downs, and they did. The A's didn't win every single night. They lost more than they won this year, but they had fun and bonded more often than not. And I think that is one of the biggest takeaways that Tom had from this year. Midway throughout the year, when they went 2 for 3 on a road trip, he said this is the most fun when the team is becoming a team. You had all the guys on the top step late innings. You had people hooting and hollering for Danny Doubles or Lyle Miller Green. People were just rooting each other on or even messing with each other, but in the fun-loving way that shows these guys had real relationships, not just some sort of summer fling with each other where they go back to school and no one talks to each other ever again.
Adam Tulloch, Victor Medeiros, a couple of the pitchers that really grew this summer. Saw Garrett Crowley last night. Trevor Martin, one of the more consistent righties from Oklahoma State for Chatham, took the ball last night. And then Zach Maxwell, who in the upcoming Manager's Show, the final of the season, Tom Holliday will reflect on. He had a tired arm at the end of the season, and he finished his Cape League season with a scoreless inning, earned the win, 97-mile-an-hour fastballs.
He struck out 3 yesterday. Yeah, 97, tired arm. What's this guy doing with, a well-rested arm? Zach Maxwell, he had an up-and-down year. I think in a way he kind of personifies the A's, where they were just so close to being great in so many instances. And you can tell with a lot of these players, like Maxwell, small tweaks as they head into their sophomore or junior years will make them dynamic baseball players. There are a ton of guys that could go in the high rounds of the draft from this 2021 team. And even if not that, just succeed really well on their college teams. A lot of them became much better baseball players through the 38 games.
Whether it be Adam Scoggins or a Austin Vernon or Daniel Fetterman signing with the Orioles, our own Andrew Crane, beat writer, a good feature on his journey to the Orioles organization. Those were some of the biggest personalities that left the team mid-season. But that was only part of the turnover. Big personalities like Caden Grice and Kevin Parada, who figured to be fixtures in the Anglers roster, they left for Team USA and then never came back. So it was a matter of piecing it together for Tom Holliday the remainder of the way. And that's part of what we'll get into in the upcoming Manager's Show, which is it wasn't pretty and it was basically piecemeal the rest of the season. And Tom Holliday doesn't think he maybe had the same lineup twice, ever. Just 38 different lineups, but they made it work somehow.
They put guys in the lineup every night and somehow figured it out. I don't know if Tom Holliday really thinks he had a first baseman this year.
No.
Which is crazy, to not have a first baseman. That's usually not one of the positions that you struggle to fill. Shortstop, sure. Center field, sure. First base, you almost always know who your first baseman is going to be. Yet, whether it was Lyle Miller Green or David Mendham, Andrew Benefield was at first base at one point. Michael Brown was with the team earlier in the year. The A's managed to just get what they needed out of each position every day and compete. Over the final 20 or so games, Chatham was sending so many guys out there and really building their value as players. Versatility is such a massive thing for college and professional baseball players going forward. And the fact that so many guys played so many different positions, I think really helps them overall and was a big thing that Tom did for all his players.
Still plenty to do on this special edition of Chatham A's Baseball. Game 39, the final game of the season, canceled at Veterans Field between Chatham and Harwich. The rain continues to fall. 2 hours left outside the Veterans Field press box. Those gray skies on the outfield horizon. It's expected to be a wet couple of days in Chatham, so the Anglers will not finish their season against Harwich. They finish with the 11-6 victory over Brewster, and Ben mentioned the development, the growth. That's what we get into with Chatham manager Tom Holliday on the final Manager's Show of the season. Who stuck around? Who made the journey from day one to then game 38 last night, and which players inserted along the way that Tom Holliday has the utmost pride in moving forward? That's straight ahead. Stay right with us for the Manager's Show. Welcome to the final Manager's Show of the 2021 summer. Chatham and Harwich canceled tonight, so Chatham's season ends with an 11-6 win over first-place Brewster last night, alongside Chatham manager Tom Holliday. Emmanuel Berbari with you from the Anglers dugout on the third base side. Tom, Your season ends with a dominant victory over Brewster. You win 6 of your final 8 games. How strong did the team feel heading out?
Well, they were in a good mood last night, and it's kind of like a long, short summer, if there is such a thing. But I think the last 2-3 weeks we were way more competitive. The guys started trying to buy into what we were telling them. Manny, this summer thing is like it's different. It takes 10 or 12 days for the players to buy into who you are and what you're trying to do, and I think it still takes them even longer than that to figure out why they're here, and what this is all about. Because this league can beat you up. When you're coming off of aluminum bat, long seasons, especially the guys at good programs, they get here and all of a sudden it's like they thought this was going to be a cakewalk. We'll go to the Cape, bang it around, get notoriety, and go home. They get here, they struggle, and they find out that there's pitchers from small schools that got good arms. And it's kind of an awakening. And it's like this summer was only 6-7 weeks, but it was a long summer because we went through a lot of bodies, and we had a lot of guys struggle at the beginning. And I think when we settled in, we got a couple stabilizing personalities. It became a team, and it's hard to turn a group of all-star type kids into a team. And I'm going to say midway through, we kind of turned into a team. We turned the scoreboard around, I don't know, about 3 weeks ago somewhere. And normally that's the first indication of a group coming together. And I think from that point on, we were kind of fun to watch the last 3 weeks. And kind of fun for me to watch. The pregame it turned into a batting practice with a purpose instead of home run derby. And that drives me nuts because I think when guys get here, it's all about, I got to hit a home run in the Cape, and swings are all fouled up with wooden bats, and then they start to realize that, it is important to make contact. And so when you get by all those obstacles, I thought last night we played the best team in our division, and he ran 2 or 3 of his guys out there, and we hit a left-hander. We hit some home runs. We didn't hit lefties all summer, but we were a better team at the finish than we were at the beginning. And I think there were 15 guys that came and stayed the whole summer. No, 18. 18 out of 30, that's pretty good. Not great, but that's pretty good, considering all the distractions that this summer presented. And, to say I'm glad it's over, not really. I'd like to have played for 2 more weeks. I think if we played 2 more weeks with the team we have right now, we win this league. But that's if and if, it's over, and we didn't get there at the finish line. And so last night was good to beat somebody, and, we got all the introductions of the families and all the awards passed out. So it's over. It's a summer complete.
You mentioned some of those guys who were here since day one, and you made it a point to recognize them in the postseason awards. How great was it to see their growth from day one to now game 38?
Well, that's the reason that we come up here as a group, and I'm hoping I can keep the group together because, you got an old coaching staff, and then we got a couple young guys that did a great job. Cooper and Jeff, those 2 guys are going to be good coaches down the road. And the other 3 guys, myself included, 4, we're just a bunch of old guys that have a whole bunch of baseball to give to kids. Do you get satisfaction out of the guys that go start to finish? I do, because I think those are the kids that they kind of wean themselves off of this, and you look at DeLeo and you see him at the end as opposed to the first day. He was impressive the first couple days. Then he hit the wall, and then he bounced off the wall and finished strong. Those are the guys you bet on in the game of baseball. Very seldom do you see anybody just come in here and dominate from day one on. I mean, the best players we've had have had struggles. The best players we've had take their struggles and fight with them while they're here. and they don't run away from them. So, yeah, I got a special place for the 18 guys that came and finished. And we had some pitchers, too, that had things to work out. And, man, 2 more weeks with Osman, you feel like you would have really got him back into a good place. But he did finish in a good place. But now he's got a short window before he's back in fall ball. That's the kind of stuff that's going on right now in our minds. And honestly, it's like you sit there and you say, now let's just follow them. Let's just see, if we did them any good. And that's fun, too. I mean, it's fun on my part. I don't know if that's abbreviated fun for some people, but I know Cookie felt good about the pitchers. Cy Nielsen, has got a chance to be a really good pitcher. And I think he put it out there this summer. You go back and look at it, McFarland, McFarland had some outings where you just sit there and go, wow, this guy's super. This guy's going to be special. And yet, when he first got here, no breaking ball to speak of and lack of command, no confidence whatsoever. And he's pretty good. And he had fun last night. You watch a guy, he finished on a good note. You watch Maxwell throw 96, 97 last night with a tired arm, and we knew it. But he wanted the ball, and we gave him the ball, and it was a good inning. It was powerful. It was a statement inning. And, you could just go on and on. But, for the most part, most of them made that statement. You've had kids like Tulloch and Garrett Crowley had to go all summer looking for a new school, and in the meantime playing in Cape Cod in front of all the scouts. Those are monster distractions for 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. And they both finally made their school decisions, and you could almost see like a different guy go to the mound. I thought Crowley last night was 2 different people. When he first went out there, that was a frustrated kid that looked like all the weight been taken off his shoulders and he didn't know who he wanted to be. And then all of a sudden you just kind of jerk him back into reality, and his last 2 innings were awesome, But, it's those are emotions and things that Cape Cod creates. They're away from home. They're out there making decisions about life on their own. And guess what? Baseball has no sympathy, which we all know that. And we had a chance last night to let Al Leiter talk to the team, and I wish we'd had it on tape. I told him, you were dynamite. Baseball kids need to hear that. Our guys were lucky they got the message, because he made it specifically for the Chatham team. But his message was good for all of baseball. So, hey, we're going to go home, but I feel good about it.
You talked about some of those players who battled back and showed resiliency. How about your silver slugger, Lyle Miller-Green, who's heading to Oklahoma State?
Yeah, what a summer for that guy, huh? I mean, big-time impression at first. I saw him do that last summer in the Texas Collegiate League, and then by the end he was a different guy. He looked like worn out and all that. And, he's big and strong and all that. He's a young kid. I mean, he's talking about come back next year. I didn't know how old he was, but he's young. And the ball he hit last night was the same ball he hit like 4 or 5 weeks ago that you sat there and went, oh, my God, what kind of power is that? But that ball he hit last night had to be 400 plus. And then when they disappear into the trees here, I mean, you got to hit it good to get it out of here to left field. This isn't a cheap home run to left. Cheap home runs are hit to right field, not left field. But his home runs are all over here. I think he hit one that way. I don't know. He's either tied or somewhere at the top of the league in home runs and RBIs. And yet he had 3 weeks where I bet he didn't hit a buck and a half. And that's Cape Cod. That's just what this league does to you. Now, he learned how to get up off the ground and get back on your feet because I didn't bench him. I made him play through it. I even changed positions on him, which was unfair to him. But, we lost our first baseman, so, he was kind of like, and he went over there, and he's okay. He'll get better if Josh needs to use him at first at Oklahoma State. He can play there. With another month of work with another infield instructor, I mean, he'll be fine. But I think what you see with him is the hands of a man, and some of his hitting tools need to be refined. But because you know me, I don't like striking out, and he struck out a lot. I don't know, he probably maybe number one in the league in strikeouts too. But the bottom line to him is that he's one of those kids that he's got to go on your radar for. Can he play in the big leagues? Absolutely. Is he going to get to the big leagues? Well, I think now that he's used a wooden bat and he sees the challenges of facing the best kids every night, that's high A, a little bit of double A baseball. Does he belong? Yeah, he does. Now, can he get to the big leagues? Keep getting better, because that's what you got to do. It's all about getting better.
The final mark, 16, 19, and 3. In a normal Cape League season, that's good enough to qualify for the playoffs. Some of the changes throughout the league have been well documented. How challenging was this summer, whether from a personal standpoint or the player standpoint compared to others?
Well, challenging is a good word. Most of the time you come up here and you got to make a move every now and then, like every maybe 5 or 6 days, 7 days, and on the timetables that the league sets up, for your contracts. It was every day this year. I mean, we went through like 53 or 57 players, and geez, I went through some lineup cards yesterday morning. I forgot about some of the guys we had here early, and that's not being disrespectful. It's just we had that much body movement, and all the work that went into it is what really agitated me, because I really worked on this roster. I tried to do what the league says. I actually had 25 guys on temp contracts. I had our 30 guys. We had 55 guys at one time contracted to come here, and then boom, USA Baseball decides that they're gonna do a 3-week tour. And then they're going to do an extra week. And then all those USA guys, which in September, nobody knew who they were. And you're doing your homework. You're trying to check with scouts and coaches to make sure you have a good team up here. And other guys in the league lost USA guys too. Wareham lost 6, just like we did. But our 6 were like basically offensive guys. And then, Wiggins, nobody knew who Wiggins was at Arkansas. At the end of the year, people knew he had a great arm. So the people at USA invite him, and then they keep him all the way through. We never got Jackson Wiggins, one of the first kids I had contracted to come up here, only because he was an Oklahoma kid that I got a chance to see. But, aggravating to the point of, I still don't know, how to put a roster together and be able to say this one's going to work, because you never know. You don't know what USA Baseball is going to do next year. So hopefully the league can sit down with them, get that worked out, get that straightened out. They need to announce what they're going to do, because I don't want guys that are going to leave in the middle of the summer. I want guys who are going to come here and play for the right reason. But if the other people, the other organizations would just get their stuff together so that they can make target dates and stuff like that, I think the whole league would appreciate that. But I don't like spending my whole morning, and by the time 1 or 2 o'clock rolls around, I'm finally taking a shower, and then I'm coming to the yard. It takes the fun out of being up here, which being up here this year was nothing but work.
You had a couple players come up here and then become mainstays with this team, whether it be Caden Tranquil from Oklahoma State or the Vanderbilt duo of Matt Hogan and Max Romero. And then you move on down the line to someone like your leadoff hitter, UNC's Danny Soretti. When they look back at this summer, how much did they get out of the Chatham experience?
Well, you're asking me to answer something that you should ask them, and I'm sure you guys have. And I don't get a chance to see all your interviews with the players. I'd like to. I'd like to know what they thought. A lot of them have a hard time expressing it, but I think we provided them the opportunity to learn and get better. When I think about, I don't know, would you say we were 16, 19, and 3? So, Well, we play 38 games. I wouldn't be afraid to say we didn't have 38 different lineups. I don't know how many times I wrote the same. I tried, then I tried to alternate our catchers so that neither one of them would, get banged up and leave us, because we basically, until we got Mendham, we didn't have a third catcher. And when I think about guys like Soretti, from when I first saw him to the last time I saw him, he had a home run last night, 410 feet, oppo from the left side, that literally jumped out of here. And I didn't know that he had that kind of pop. I'd see some of it in BP, but that's all feel good. That's all just home run derby crap, But last night he did it in a game, and he can play. I think he's got a chance to play in the big leagues at second. He's okay at short, which is a good thing to be. You go down the line and you think about the two guys from Vanderbilt fighting to get here. As soon as Omaha was over, and Max Ramiro literally took his gear and everything to Omaha so he could get here. And when he got here, he couldn't wait to play. He wanted to play every day, and I did. And I think he's got a chance to be a star. I mean, based on what other guys we've had up here, guy can catch, he can throw, got big-time power, and he loves the game. He doesn't just play the game. He loves the game. Matt Hogan's another kid. Corbs does a good job altering their mindsets. And, he's what would a summer in a Cape be without Rob on his John Deere? but the takeaway from kids like that weren't everyday players in school, they come here and to watch Hogan sprint on and off the field every game, everything he did. He's a coach's dream. And, is he going to play in the big leagues? I don't know that right now. All I know is he's got great hands on the bat. He's got a swing that needs some adjustments. He needs to learn how to hit the breaking ball, but he hadn't played much in 2.5 years. So, but I think he's on track right now, and he feels good about himself. He's got another school to go to now. That's off his mind. And so does Ramiro. I think Ramiro's got a chance to be. I think we had a bunch of guys having. Josh Rivera, he still has bad body language at times, but he needs somebody to point that out, because you can get by with that when you're a must-play kind of guy. But when there's people sitting in the stands that are trying to judge you as a talent, they don't want to see you get upset just because you make a great play and throw the ball away. You made a great play to get to it, then you throw it away. Okay, it's just part of the game, trying to make the great play. But Josh, he made strides with the bat that were visible, and Mickey spent a lot of time with him. And I think we pounded the fact home that this is a game of error. When you make one, you don't need to apologize to the fans by acting like you hurt your feelings. Those are hard things to explain to baseball people, but he kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve a little bit. And by the end of this summer, he kind of developed a little bit of confidence. I know he was a much better hitter, and I tried to hit him in the 3-hole to finish the deal for him, to build some confidence for him going into a big year. So there's a lot of side stories, a lot of sidebars to the madness of 38 different lineups. But all in all, at the end, I don't think anybody would want to play us a 3-game series. There goes Rob, back on
the great Robbie Grenier.
Yeah, and I don't even know where that one came from right there. That's a new. He must have rented another vehicle, but he's putting stuff away too, like everybody else.
Tom, speaking of putting stuff away, it's been a pleasure. Safe travels back to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I got a nice. I've heard anywhere from 22 to 26 hours. And we're going to get on the road a little bit earlier than normal, and I don't like that, but I got no choice. I really would like to have played tonight. Last night was a fun night for everybody. Everything got done, but this looks like one of them all-day rains that we had up here when we got here. So it's over. We got a seagull sitting out here on the infield, literally watching this entire interview, and I don't know. It's got to be from the size of him, that's got to be a reincarnated umpire, because I don't think that could be a player with that body. That seagull. That seagull must clean up the garbage around here a lot after ball games, because that's a big one. And he's been here all morning since I got here. I'll see you maybe next year.
The Seagull looking on as the Chatham season concludes. It's Chatham manager Tom Holliday, final manager show of 2021. Thanks for tuning in all season long on the Cape Cod Baseball Network. And we roll along from Veterans Field, our final broadcast of the 2021 summer in lieu of Chatham and Harwich in Game 39 tonight. Chatham finishes last night with an 11-6 win over first-place Brewster. Alongside Ben Shulman, Emmanuel Berbari with you. Ben, Tom reflecting on the roster changes and everything he had to deal with. He called this summer more filled with work than any before, but ultimately the Anglers persevered, and he saw a lot of growth.
It looked like they had a lot of fun. They didn't win more games than they lost, but people got better. Tom made relationships as always, and those are relationships that are going to last a long time. So even through the work, it was a successful year for the A's that just got cut a little bit short.
As the rain falls down at Veterans Field, we want some final time for reflection on what's been an awesome summer broadcasting Chatham A's baseball, and we thank you for coming along for the ride all season long. Ben, the Chatham Athletic Association is filled with volunteers, completely run by people like that from the Chatham Anglers community, and you can't really do it without people like them who are so supportive, so passionate of the Chatham Anglers and everything that goes into this community and this experience. So anyone who's checked in along the way, even if you're just checking in for the first time today, you're what makes it happen, and we couldn't be more appreciative of this opportunity.
This team is the community. It's a direct product of not only the fans, but the local businesses and everyone that comes to Chatham, even for a short period of time, to help support the A's. And we would not be here without you. So other than the players on the field, the really exciting guys, we also you are directly responsible for us being here, and we really appreciate all the support you've provided us.
We have a folder right here that we use for each game, our sponsors throughout the broadcast, and what we do would not be possible without them as well. You think of the pitching matchup brought to you by Red Nun Bar and Grill, which happens to be about 100 feet behind us right now where we're standing in the Veterans Field press box. You think of Sweet Tomatoes Pizza right down the road, and a minute or two away from Veterans Field. We talked about the spinach and feta slice so much on this year's broadcast, and we love Sweet Tomatoes. Chatham Bars Inn, New England's premier oceanfront resort. You have Chatham Squire as well. Huge sponsor for the Chatham Anglers, and read them every day on our broadcast. Don't want to lead anyone out, but we went for the first couple of times late in this season to Short and Sweet ice cream and had some brilliant cups, cones of ice cream that we truly enjoyed, and they're just great people over there. So we want to thank all our sponsors who made this year possible and also continue to make the Cape Cod Baseball Network a reality.
Absolutely. Without them, just like the fans, we would not be here. And all those local businesses showing up for the A's each and every season, contributing to this great organization that is the Chatham Anglers.
The Anglers finished the season 16, 19, and 3. Ben, in the broadcast booth, it's been a real pleasure working with you all summer long, and it's really been the experience of a lifetime. So thank you for everything you've done to make me a better person, make me a better broadcaster.
Thank you. I couldn't have put it better, but it's been such a joy to work with you, to work with everyone on the media team sitting along beside us. It has just been awesome to meet all these new people, both on the team, in the media team, and around the community, and just learn and grow from so many different people. It's been a great time and a summer that I don't think either of us will ever forget.
We'll never forget it, so we want to shout out our media team by names: Andrew Crane, Ali Kaler, the beat writers. We have Michaela McMillan, one of our videographers. Maggie Minoni since departed for Virginia Tech. She was watching with a watch party last night of Hokies, so we shout out Maggie as well. Jake Klein, our media team assistant, who's just a youngster. He's heading through his high school journey, but he's been so useful this summer, so helpful to everything that we do here. And of course, the man who makes it all happen, Dan Duva of the Chatham Athletic Association, the original Chatham A's broadcaster alongside Guy Benson. Can't thank Dan enough for all his mentorship and help this summer and always. So for Ben Shulman, Emmanuel Berbari signing off for the final time from the Veterans Field press box this summer. Chatham Anglers baseball, thanks for tuning in all season long. The Angler season ends last night with a resounding 11-6 win over Brewster. We appreciate you tuning in all summer long, and enjoy the rest of your summer wherever you are.